I am so sick and tired of hearing the accusation of extremist in modern American politics that I just had to make this video. To begin with, am I an extremist? Absolutely. And so is every single human being who ever accomplished any great deed. Aristotle, Socrates, Jesus, Confucius, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Einstein, Edison, Thomas Paine, the Founding Fathers, Booker T. Washington, and every other human being who ever did any great thing was an extremist. If it wasn't for extremists, civilization itself would have never come into existence. However, when you talk about extremism, you have to distinguish between the two types of extremists. There are good and bad extremists, moral and immoral extremists, just and unjust extremists, benevolent and malevolent extremists, heroic and evil extremists, just to name a few. You can't just call someone an extremist without going into further detail about exactly what you mean. Jesus was a good extremist. Hitler was a bad extremist. Thomas Paine was a good extremist. Stalin was a bad extremist. Socrates was a good extremist. Mao was a bad extremist, etc. The good extremists are the people who uphold the rights of the individual. The bad extremists are the people who violate the rights of the individual. The good extremists are the people who treat others justly. The bad extremists are the people who treat others unjustly. The good extremists are the people who treat others the way they want to be treated. The bad extremists are people who reject that principle. The good extremists understand that if they hire the government to force others to give them what they want, then they have no right to complain when others hire the government to force them to give them what they want. When it comes to freedom, anything less than the extreme is immoral. In fact, freedom is the first prerequisite of morality. But it has to be remembered that all human beings have the right to be free, and no human being has the right to violate the freedom of another. Freedom is an equal opportunity concept, and it's the extremists when it comes to freedom who we should admire and emulate, not the extremists who believe they have the right to violate the freedom of others by using the power of government. And then you have the corollary of freedom, personal responsibility. In the long run, you cannot have one without the other. So when it comes to personal responsibility, anything less than the extreme is immoral and unacceptable. Should we not admire and emulate people who are extreme when it comes to personal responsibility? How can a person be too extreme when it comes to personal responsibility? Next, there's justice. Is anything less than the extreme when it comes to justice morally acceptable? After all, how can you have too much justice? Of course, we're not perfect, and human beings make mistakes all the time. But who do you want working for you in government? A person who's an extremist when it comes to upholding the concept of justice, or a person who's apathetic when it comes to upholding the concept of justice? To any person concerned about ethical consequences, the choice couldn't be more obvious. And what about fiscal responsibility? When it comes to your tax dollars, is anything less than the extreme acceptable? What kind of person would want people working in government who are not extremely fiscally responsible? I, for one, want the extremist. I want people in government who are moral extremists. I want people in government who are extremely rational, extremely ethical, extremely responsible, extremely honest, extremely loyal, extremely just, extremely courageous, extremely knowledgeable, extremely wise, and extremely concerned about our children's future. So you're damn right I want the extremist. Anything less is unacceptable. Thanks for your time.